So handstand push-up progressions, I'm going to start off with the hardest variation, the dead press. I'm going to go through to the easiest variation, the pike push-up. I'm going to run through them quite quickly. I'm just going to go in for a little bit of detail on each one, not too much, but enough to give you a starting point and some guidelines for your training. So in reverse order, let's go with the dead press to start with. This is how I trained today. I started off with dead presses. I done a warm up and then I just went straight into them. So with the dead press, we just basically need to try and keep the body one segment. You need to try and get your shoulders and your head far enough past your hands so you have some counterbalance. You want to have a little bit more weight in front than you do behind. So as you start to push the feet up in the air, it pulls your body up as one and you have a bit of like a seesaw, counterbalance, head and shoulders slightly heavier, and you can scoop yourself up. And that's what happens to most people, and it still happened to me a little bit. Instead of bringing the body up as one piece, which is the goal, you scoop the legs up and the feet and the hips come up a little bit first, and you tend to have the legs spray apart a little bit, the knees can bend. And that is actually one way of making this one a little bit easier, is to purposely allow yourself to like scoop up, feet first, and go into the position, and then sort yourself out as you get into the position and go higher up, straightening the position out into your handstand. Now we can make the dead press easier by going into straddle, so I can take the legs out to the side, which decreases the lever arm, so it makes basically the legs shorter, and then you can go up that way, which should make the shoulders and chest feel heavier, so your counterbalance is more and you can go up. I actually don't find the straddle that much easier because I tend to lose control of my legs a little bit more. I try and squeeze in, makes it a little bit easier. I sort of have this sort of half straddle position. This is probably a little bit easier for me if I bend the legs to come up as opposed to going into straddle. So you can do anything to try and shorten that lever arm. The other way for all of these is to do eccentric, so you could just do the down movement. So you could start in the handstand and lower yourself down, trying to take the head and shoulders as far forwards as you can. I definitely turn the hands out. You might even come up off the heel of your palm a little bit as you go down, and then try and kiss the floor. So basically with the eccentrics, you're just trying to get as much time under tension as possible throughout the movement. Now the dead presses, easier brother, would be the 90-degree handstand push-ups. We start in the handstand, we lower down to our body as parallel with the floor, and then we come back up again. Same principles apply. We want to try and take our head and shoulders as far forwards over our hands as we can to counterbalance the weight of the legs to scoop ourselves back up again. Now this is a little bit easier because we have the momentum of that like stretch reflex as we go up and down, but also because we're elevated now. So elevating the hands up a little bit higher actually makes this easier. So if you did do it on a raised surface, so raised your hands up on a bit of wood or some yoga blocks or something, that would make it slightly easier, or be off the edge of a box or a wall, so you can dip your head and shoulders down as you come up. That is another way you can make the dead press a little bit easier as well, as if you was on a ledge and you dipped your shoulder and head below the surface to bring yourselves back up. Same things with the 90-degree handstand push-up. We could do eccentrics, and we could also open up into straddle or bend the knees slightly just to decrease the lever arm of the legs. Again, 90-degree and dead press, make sure the hands are turned out. You're going to create a bit more space and allow your shoulders to go over your hands a little bit easier. Okay, next is the deficit handstand push-up. So basically full range handstand push-up, trying to get collarbone or chest to touch the box is seen as the full range. So basically how far can my hands go down here? We want to touch onto the box, a step, P-bars, and then push all the way back up again. We could do the eccentrics, we can go straddle again. Straddle doesn't make that much difference for me. I'd keep the legs together. I actually find that a little bit easier, keeping the body as one segment. So just really working the eccentrics. Now with these ones, because the feet don't come down too far, we can use the wall to make it easier. So I can have my toes against the wall and slide down the wall. That's both the eccentric and the full rep. But with the deficit handstand push-up, I would definitely train that shoulder stand. I talk about this one a lot. Get very comfortable in that shoulder stand, both in a tuck and open up into the position, but more importantly for the handstand push-ups, stepping into a straight position. If you're a little bit nervous or you want to be really cautious, go up against the wall, so back to the wall, and then you can take a foot over and touch the wall if you need to. But get really comfortable pushing in and out of that. You can also do like a pike handstand push-up style movement. So as you're going in and out of the movement, you're getting that push and you're getting some tension, like you're doing a push-up type movement as you enter and exit. Now exactly the same, but without the box, without the deficit, we just come down to head to touch the floor. Now you'll notice some people here will touch their nose, which sort of cocks the head backwards. The only thing you need to be a little bit careful there is just remember we're much stronger pushing through the chest than we are pushing through the shoulders. So as you cock the head and try and go to nose to floor, you tend to open the chest a little bit more, and that can create a bit of a banana. And then as you push back up, you'll tend to really increase the banana and end up with your chest facing the floor as you push, which will arch the back as you come back up. Now, it's not a massive issue, but it might mess you up for some harder progressions as you go, and it will decrease the amount of repetitions you can do, because if you do that on every rep, it's actually going to be harder work, and you're going to have to sort out your balance position every time. Whereas if you keep your body as one segment and just basically go up and down, you can bang out repetitions with the same amount of energy. Again, same as the deficit, we can do it up against the wall, we can slide the toes up and down the wall. You could walk up and down the wall, and it makes it a little bit easier. But the goal really is to get freestanding as quick as possible. The other movement that's worth talking about is the partial range. So coming down and touching a target with your head and coming back again. So the target could be used with or without deficit. So basically I'm just going to put this here, kick up to handstand, can be done against the wall. So toes could be on the wall here, target, kiss, come back up, feels good. I could do reps, or I could decrease, or a bit of both, and just slowly decrease the height of the target, making sure you can come back up with control until you can get down to touch your head to the floor, or set it up so you can actually go a little bit into a deficit and come back again. So most people will be starting with some wall variation like that in a straight body. Now, if you can start straight off with repetitions and eccentrics, I wouldn't do that many pike push-ups. I'm not a big fan of pike push-ups. I think it really messes you up with the hip, and it's really hard to get the torso into the right angle that carries over the best for handstand push-ups. So I would do one of those if you can. If you do struggle with repetitions though, stick in some pike push-ups just to get some strength through there, and or do some barbell overhead work. Now, I'm pretty strong at handstand push-ups. I'm also pretty strong and done lots of barbell overhead work when I first started training. So before I was doing calisthenics, I was doing more bench press, dumbbell pressing, and I've always been pretty strong overhead. I have short stubby arms, which helps me with that as well. But I'm sure some of that base training from years ago helps with my pushing strength that now carries over and makes me stronger at the handstand push-up. So since I've been doing calisthenics types training for the last 8 years or so, I've been doing handstand push-ups probably once or twice a week on average. And I'd recommend if you want to get strong at the handstand push-up, you're doing it at least twice a week. You just have to try and balance it with your straight arm work if you're also going for things like press handstand and things. So it's a little bit of a mess around in terms of how you juggle your week, especially with things like planches, levers, handstand push-ups, chins, muscle-ups. Fitting it all in can be a bit of a mess. So obviously just sit down and try and work it out, and try not to become an expert at everything at once. But do stick any questions down below and I'll see if I can answer them, or I can put them together into a video in the future. Thumbs up and subscribe will be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.